Today our guest is the President of Legal Education for Sumgayit Youth Public Union, Elchin. Welcome to our studio. Thank you. Elchin nominated his candidacy from Sumgayit's second election constituency number 42, but his candidacy was not registered. What is the reason? One reason was claimed to be the negative recommendation of Sumgayit Tax Department number 2, and also it was claimed that 96 of total signatures were similar. Have you filed a complaint? Yes, I filed a complaint on the 10th of October to the Central Election Commission. Did the negative recommendation of Tax Department have any justifications? The negative recommendation was ill-intentioned. As an NGO defending the rights of the citizens, we repeatedly were involved in investigation of civil complaints against Tax Department, and we also participated in a number of court hearings, lawsuits against Tax Department, and we have won several of them. What did the Tax Department claim against you? When presenting our documents to the Central Election Commission, we also submitted our documents on our property, incomes and spendings, and the Tax Department claimed that the figures in these documents were not real figures, and therefore made a negative record. It seems Sumgayit's second election constituency number 42 is a scandalous constituency because famous Sinki and former parliamentarian candidate Flora Karimova won a lawsuit in European Human Court of Human Rights. And European Court of Human Rights made decision that Flora Karimova had won the 2005 parliamentary elections in the aforementioned election constituency, but the Central Election Commission annulled her victory. You trust in Central Election Commission because it prevented Flora Karimova's victory. I was one of the first to congratulate Flora Karimova in 2005. Her deserved victory was annulled, but now Flora Karimova is not present in this election constituency, and the other people want to choose those who can protect their rights. We think that we have more chances now. The campaign we carried out, also our meetings with the voters, show this. But that's why I was put out of the game in these elections, because we had more chances. Also, in previous elections, a number of candidates were not registered, citing the similarity of signatures. Did they present you any results of any professional examination of signatures to prove that these signatures are similar? No examination of signatures has been carried out because the signature sheets were checked by non-relevant commission, because in the meeting on 7th of October they told me that there were some similar signatures which made impossible the registration of the candidate. They told it just early, and they didn't show me the similar signatures. Both signatures are similar to the other ones, and therefore they refused to give me the signature sheets, and they said that in case I complain to any structure, they present the signature to that agency or structure. Will you file any complaint regarding revealing the similar signatures, or demand a handwriting examination of the signatures? The European Convention on Human Rights strictly supervises the violation of election rights. If I am not registered, I will appeal to the European Court on Human Rights, but first we file the complaint to the Central Election Commission. When will the Central Election Commission consider it? According to the legislation, in 2 days. When did you appeal to the Central Election Commission? On the October 10th. After that, will you appeal to the court? Of course you will, but it depends on the decision. How do you evaluate the election process in Sumgayit? Because it's 30 kilometers away from Baku. The general view on election process both in Sumgayit and Baku, and also in regions, are similar. What are the difficulties? The difficulties are again related with the registration of candidates. I know that in some election constituencies that I don't want to name to avoid campaigning, the persons signing for the candidates are pressured. But of course there should be facts to prove this. You know, we conduct meetings with candidates and voters, and one of the candidates told me that the persons standing for him are pressured. But neither the media nor the community is aware of those pressures. I hope they will express their protest. You are also the editor-in-chief of the Yükseliş Namine newspaper published in Sumgayit. How do you evaluate the participation of editors or journalists in election process? Because they are campaigning for themselves in their newspapers. It is also seen in your newspaper. You mean campaigning before the start of election campaign? Now in general. For example, I'm an editor-in-chief of a newspaper. After nominating my candidacy, I resigned from my position, but the newspaper still remains under my control. But according to the legislation, the newspaper should equally propagate all candidates. But what if the newspaper only campaigns for you? I don't think so, because we have publicized our prices for campaigning. We can campaign for any candidate in our newspaper. But as long as I'm not registered, I remain in my position. But when I'm registered, I will resign, of course, from this position. But I think our having these opportunities is good, because if candidates are prevented from being aired in TV, why should we use this opportunity? You mean a newspaper should campaign for one side and not to campaign for the other side? I don't think so. If I have not access to TV, and if I have a newspaper widely known in both in Sumgayit and regions, and having a circulation of 2,000 copies, why shouldn't we use this opportunity? You mean, for example, Bəxtiyar Sadıqov, editor of Azərbaycan newspaper, Rabi Harifoğlu, editor of Yeni Müsavat newspaper, and Ganimet Zahid, editor of Azali newspaper, should campaign for themselves in their newspapers. Of course, in equal conditions. What do you mean? He should campaign for the other candidate no less than himself. And now about general election process. What are the peculiarities of Azerbaijani election process that dissatisfy you? I think the authorities who hold these elections should study world practices. We study everything from European and international community except elections, free elections. It's also very pity that some candidates who are not registered do not even intend to file complaints. But fortunately, I collected signatures from my relatives, from the voters who voted to me in 2005 parliamentary elections. At any time, I can explain to the relevant agencies, authorities, how I collected these signatures, why this person signed for me. And also the citizens are ready to affirm their signatures. From this point of view, Sumgayit residents are active, but I like the residents of all regions be active. In this way, the voters can contribute to holding fair and transparent elections. Thank you for coming to our studio. Thank you for inviting me. Today our guest was the President of Legal Education for Sumgayit Youth Public Union, Elchin.